Hey guys, welcome back to the American Contractor Show. Man, it's been a minute since I've done one of these.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
It'll be a good one.
This is going to be a good one, and I'm excited to do it today because we've got some really innovative stuff today to talk about.
Yeah.
For you guys that don't know, I've got Sharuk Khanna with us right now from XBuild.
Hey, everybody.
And XBuild has become a huge part of my life.
Glad to have it be part of yours.
I'm happy to be here because, you know, this is one of the most exciting things in the industry, and I'm excited to bring it to our audience officially. I think I made the announcement like a month ago now.
Yeah, just about.
I know, I was pretty quiet about it. Sorry, guys. I didn't tell many people what I was doing, and it wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to share what I was doing. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we had a really amazing product. And I tell people this all the time. I'm always like, dude, I've had so many people pitch me ideas all the time for the last, I don't know, however long American Contractor Show has been around. And typically it's, you know, some sort of revolutionary technology that someone's building. And a lot of times it's cool stuff. I struggle to see the practical side of it. Mm-hmm. And you guys reached out of nowhere. And I think Chuck Toki was like, bro, you got to take this XBuild call.
Yeah, mutual connection.
I know. He was like, these guys need to talk to you. And so we connected. And by the way, if Chuck Toki tells me to do something, I'm probably going to do it because Chuck's a very highly respected friend of mine. Yeah. And we met, we talked about what you guys were doing. And instantly I was like, this is actually revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like, this is the future. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Sharuk's one of the founders.
Hey, everybody. Just a brief introduction about myself. You know, when you said it was revolutionary, I think there's a few things that actually go beyond that, which is we wanted to build something for construction by construction. And that's a big philosophy I have because I've come from deep construction. I come building wind farms and solar farms and underground and mechanical projects. And it's just every solution that I tried to implement, you know, being obsessed with technology in construction, being some of the younger people in construction, I always found that the solution was never, you know, it always felt like square peg, round hole. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to make something work that wasn't built for us, but it's all we had. And we wanted to try things and we wanted to make it, you know, our projects better and our job sites better. But, you know, when we got the opportunity to actually build this product, I wanted to make sure that through every vein, through every decision we made, it was, how does this benefit the project? How does this benefit the job site? And I think that really shows in what we've been able to build out, because that's why, you know, we've been able to get the response we had so far.
Well, so far it's been amazing, but I want to back up a little bit further because I think that there's some underlying context here that people need to realize. Like, first off, technology is going through massive changes. Mm-hmm. We have what I think now at this point we call legacy technology.
Yep.
Like, the way that technology is currently utilized in society in general is very app-driven, programming-driven, software-driven. And then we've got all this AI stuff that's coming into play that's changing everything. And you guys have a super deep technology background.
Yeah.
Your team is incredible.
Yeah, the other two founders, Jahan Khanna, actually my brother, he was the inventor of ride sharing. So started the first company in San Francisco that did this.
Which ride sharing is essentially Uber.
Yeah, exactly. So just the origin of that concept came from him and his company. And then he went on to work at Uber. And then our CTO also came from that company as well, and then went on to be the director of engineering at Postmates. So just having this huge spectrum of, you know, peer-to-peer delivery, Silicon Valley, fast-paced, highly technical, to deep construction, and just pairing those two worlds together in what is now the AI, you know, kind of revolution of what's possible, and just being able to solve much more complicated problems. You know, we were able to, I think, hit it at the right moment.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand the true. I think people associate AI with like ChatGPT. Like ChatGPT is like what they view AI as like a glorified text, you know, knowledge source, essentially like Google, but different. Yeah. But it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it's. I guess the way to think about AI is you have your LLMs, your large language models, which basically It's what everyone's familiar with. It's your ChatGPT, it's your Anthropic, it's your, DeepSeek. And you can interact with it. You have the questions. And what we've seen is a lot of, construction people are trying to play with that as what it can do.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't understand about AI and AI agents is that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? The output of the chat is just the end product of what amazing things are happening underneath. The way I kind of think about it is the way I see AI going forward. If you were to think about it on your job site, you have, your office team of project engineers, you have project managers, but then you have your field team, you have your foreman, you have your superintendents, you have your craft, your laborers, your carpenters, your ironworkers. The AI that we're kind of seeing in the LLMs is similar to the foreman, right? You're asking a question and it's telling you all the context behind it. It's delivering you an answer. What's going to happen eventually is with AI and as AI agents become better and better and better, and AI agents are basically the things that allow you to do more tasks. It becomes more task oriented. You can actually start to think of it as, okay, I have an AI foreman. If you ask it to do something, it will go to all of these agents similar to, hey, I need to assign this role to our carpenters, to our ironworkers, to our concrete crews, our foreman crew. And it'll then be able to do all those tasks. So you'll have this team of agents that'll be able to run your business or run your
basically
tech stack.
manage projects.
Manage projects, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
It is. It's exciting and scary at the same moment.
It kind of is scary.
Yeah.
And I remember we were in a meeting recently and you mentioned like AI will basically be able to recreate itself physically.
Yeah.
Like that eventually, right?
Yeah, it's this dystopian topic that I always like to toy with, which is eventually what's happening is because AI needs so much compute power, it needs large amounts of data centers, large amounts of electricity to run. What developers are trying to put in for their AI is, okay, at what points do I need to stand up more data centers? I need AI to predict when that moment is going to happen through time so I can lease land, so I can get the blueprints approved, so I can do all these things. Eventually, those tasks are also going to be automated. You're going to know, hey, I know that this land in Oklahoma with this lot size is available. This
that fits the criteria that the AI needs.
Yeah, these are the lines that are nearby. This is the type of plant I can fit on there. I'm going to automatically send this to the building office and follow up for approvals. It's going to get it approved. It's going to secure the funds, and then it's going to bid it out. And that's just going to happen over and over and over again. Then if you have the contractors with the AI, then it just picks it up and says, oh, we can build this, and then it just iterates on itself.
It could literally, AI will be able to construct itself. That's the reality. And
do you think that's a bad thing?
From a contractor perspective, depends which level of contractor you're talking about.
Okay.
So from a GC perspective, I think it's going to be a good thing and a bad thing simultaneously because it's going to reduce, I think, some of the value that a GC brings to the table. But it's still going to be required. Someone still has to manage the human capital involved.
Yeah.
From a tradesperson perspective, if you're a tradesman and you're doing like you're an electrician, you're a concrete guy, whatever you are, that will be extremely valuable because now you probably have a better data set to work off of. You have hopefully a much more clear understanding of what you're supposed to do than you currently do. So in that regard, it allows you to actually perform the trade that you're trying to do a lot easier. So I view technology from that realm. Like there's some elements of the industry that technology is going to replace, and there's other elements of the industry that technology is going to enhance. And so it just depends which role you're in at that specific moment as to whether you're in the replace side or the enhance side. This is why I'm very, very passionate about the trades and the fact that I think more people need to go to trade school, more people need to become involved in that side of it. Because at the end of the day, I think other than Elon Musk building robots that can build crap, there's still someone involved that has to like physically perform the labor.
Yeah.
So I think that hopefully AI brings more value to that part of the industry, at least in the short term. Now, like I said, robots, I don't know. I mean, we've seen robots that can build houses right now and put on roofs and do all, like they're developing all kinds of crazy technology for that. But at the same time, like where that lands in the spectrum of construction, I think there's so many ways, so many lenses to view this through from a tradesperson, GC, and then there's also stakeholders. There's people that are actually the people signing the checks and that want these things developed and are actually, producing whatever they want produced. Yeah. I think for them, it's going to be extremely helpful.
That's where I think some of the biggest value is going to come in the short term, because AI gives a level of transparency that no one has really been able to achieve in construction.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much work that it takes to build an estimate, do the reporting on the job. Like, we've all seen it. You want to track your labor hours and your production and the tools you have to manually put in, I laid 30 cubic yards. Here's my cost code. And that rolls up into a budget, which is also littered with change orders. And it's just, how do you portray the reality of the project?
Cost?
Yeah, what is the real cost?
No one knows the real cost. If I'm a stakeholder, I send a bid out, I'm going to get 5 different estimates that'll all look completely different for the exact same set of blueprints.
Exactly. We know that's not real.
Yeah. Well, either one's too high or one's too low, but who knows what the real one is?
Right.
How do you make that decision?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the most interesting projects that we get to work on, is how do you build an estimate that has a perfect level of confidence, that
a source of truth.
Exactly, a source of truth, that an owner or whoever's looking at these bids can say, this is what my AI estimate is. This is the level of confidence I have in the sub bids that have been given me. I have a $50,000 AI estimate. Things are flowing from 30 to 80,000.
Right.
Why? You should be able to compare and contrast these.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the first pain plus positive disruption that's going to happen, is being able to check against that source of truth, because it's going to be able to do your estimate. Whereas right now, the reason sub bids can do this is the GC doesn't have time to bid all these different trades and all these scopes. They don't have the resources. They can only bid the things that they know how, and then they'll sub out the rest.
Right.
And so you get these projects that are littered with, as GCs sometimes will say, as opportunities. And we all know that just causes problems down the wall. Water falls down on site.
I saw my buddy Dimitri posted something the other day. It was a picture of a yacht and a picture of like the dinghy with the yacht. Mm-hmm. And the dinghy was called something like, oh crap, I can't remember. It was called like the original estimate or something. Mm-hmm. And then the yacht was called change order.
Yeah.
Because he's like, that's where the money is. It's in the change orders.
Why do you think that happens when it comes to the opportunity of the project? Why do you think there's fear of the real number? Because the real number is known to some degree.
I don't know if it's fear as much as I think most of the time that it's hard for an estimator, especially in a large project, to come to a real solid number, especially when you get into like more complex trades. I think it comes down to human error. I think mistakes are made, things are overlooked that shouldn't have been overlooked, and it's just the nature of the industry. Like, estimators are not, they miss things, or they overlook things, or they overbid things on accident, and that's where a lot of it could go one way or the other. It's just, an estimate is, for lack of a better term, I always say this, it's a guess for a human.
Is. Yeah, for a human.
For a human, it's a guess.
There's just so many pieces of knowledge that an estimator needs to be able to cobble together in their mind. It's an unfair burden that sometimes gets put on these guys.
Yeah,
and I feel bad for them.
Yeah, there should be more respect for the estimators out there.
There should be. They should be given more time or more resources. But I mean, that's what.
But it's overlooked.
It is.
From a GC perspective, it's a cost center.
It is a cost center, which is crazy because that's a revenue driver. Sometimes the success or failure is based on what this poor guy in an office is able to put out. Mm-hmm. And, if they get sick for a week, you miss a month of revenue, and it's tough.
It is tough. So in a lot of ways, and I think most people don't there's not like a bunch of little kids out here wishing that someday their dream job is to be an estimator for a construction firm. So I don't think you're going to break a whole lot of hearts by bringing estimating into the equation. But at the same time, it's just one of those things that it's a lot more complicated than people think it is.
Yeah.
Than people realize.
Yeah.
And that's where I think AI can really bring a lot of value to the space, to assist, to help, contractors get that understanding of it. At least to start. Now, obviously, AI will continue in its development and continue overtaking more pieces of it. But it's just it's basically doing tasks that humans we're not really made for that.
No, we're not made to hold that much knowledge. And the way an estimate should be put together is, even if it's a simple estimate, if you had 15 estimators on that job,
Mm-hmm.
you'd feel a lot more confident about it because they'd be able to check against each other, they'd be able to ask the questions, they'd be able to, make sure that everyone who has a scope gap is able to get that filled and they could properly put together this project.
Yeah.
That's the leverage that AI gives you. You can make millions of decisions that a human can't, and it doesn't cost you very much.
Yeah.
And it happens much faster than a human can do it.
100%. And that's where I think the human value shift is going to change.
Yeah.
For the last, and you got to think too through history, like last 50, 60 years since the advancement of paper and pencil and ledgers and computers and all this stuff, like there's a whole segment of our economy, of our society that lives behind a desk.
Yeah.
And before that didn't exist.
No, it didn't.
Like humans were doing stuff. Like they were building things, they were farming, they were, producing. And it's gotten to where like less and less of the tasks that humans do are actual like true human tasks.
That's true. I would also say in construction, less and less of the tasks have become about actually building.
Yes.
It's become more administrative. It's become more reporting, more
all about
check-ins,
scaling,
more
about growing.
meetings.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do we get back to building? And I think AI gives us that first push into getting back to building. Because I can see it whenever I talk to GCs, even other people that run innovations department. You can feel this kind of annoyance with what the industry has become. Like, okay, I want to be out there checking on my guys, and I want to be out there building these jobs and doing amazing
producing.
structures.
Yeah.
But I can't because I have to get my monthly CPM schedule as well as my weekly, as well as my ops reporting, as well as my production tracking. And it's just paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, that needs to just be settled. And I think AI will allow us to do that.
I love
Actually,
that.
I know AI will be able to do that.
And you said something interesting a while ago. We were talking about our presentation tomorrow. We're getting ready to meet in front of some contractors. You said one of the things that you like to ask contractors.
Yeah, I always... It's an important question that I think we have to wrestle with here, which is, do you think the U.S. construction market is the best in the world? And a lot of the times, people look at me and they'll want to say yes, but...
Well, we're Americans. We want to believe that we're the best in the world at everything.
But when you get down to it, a lot of them will look at you and they'll say no.
Yeah.
Right? And the follow-up is always, do you think it can be?
It's been overcomplicated.
Yeah. And I truly know it can be.
Yeah.
We just have to really, as an industry, accept where the world is going with this technology and not fight against it, but really ride the wave and take this moment to define what AI is going to do for us and not allow other people to define it for us like we've done for, products in the past. We have the chance now to actually say, no, this is what we need from AI. We're going to step in and we're going to take control and we're going to make it the best it can be for us and have it deliver exactly what we want to do to make this industry as good as we know it can be.
Yeah. And it goes back to our human roots, though, ultimately.
It does.
I mean, there's some things that just as a human, we probably shouldn't be too concerned about and we shouldn't overcomplicate, but we tend to do that. And then I think there's some ego involved there too. Like I'm the best at doing this paper pushing. So yeah. I want to continue pushing paper, but it's ultimately like, man, we can go back to producing. That's incredible. And I think, like generations before me, like my grandpa, he's a bricklayer. Great grandfather's a blacksmith. Like I think about like those guys and the stuff that they worried about. They worried about producing the best possible quality product that they could produce. And they go home and I'm sure there was a sense like and if you've never done this before, you need to. If you run a construction company, maybe you've never worked out in the field, but there's something about coming home at the end of a long day that you've just busted ass all day, and you come home and you're like, man, that was a good day. Like I got a lot of stuff done, and I come in and I'm just like, it's so rewarding.
Yeah,
and to think like we can now reopen a lot of that sense of accomplishment back into humanity is pretty cool.
It is. I mean, this is one of the few industries that your output impacts almost everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people think of construction, they're like, oh, what happens in my home? What happens in my bathroom? What happens in my kitchen? But, for 90% of people that live in cities and towns, a lot of what you step on had to be built by somebody.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pride in that. And
a ton of pride. What
I hate seeing is that loss of pride sometimes because people are, they're like you said, they just didn't have a good day because there's so much stress, there's so much pressure, and there's so much difficulty to deliver now because of all of these obstructions.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, all right. So we got this grand vision for XBuild. You guys clearly have a pretty long runway here, I'm sure, of like a lot of different pieces to this. But what's really interesting about XBuild today, and if you're a roofing contractor listening to this, you definitely want to pay attention, but you guys have started the process, started to build automation, started to build systems, started to intake data. And what's cool about it is you started in the roofing space.
Yep.
Out of all the spaces you could have picked, all the verticals, welcome to roofing.
It's coming from the commercial world, like and doing some residential roofing is it's fast. it's fast paced and
it's cyclical.
I love it. It is cyclical. It's cyclical and it's seasonal and it's you got to hit where the iron's hot. It's a fun one. I really do love it.
And then take it a step further, you guys have started in the insurance restoration space of roofing, which is probably the most fun of all the roofing pieces. Which is how I ended up getting involved with you guys because my background and the stuff that I've done in the past. But, and that's the world that I've been in for 25 years now. But what's fascinating to me is you guys solved a problem that we've been trying to solve for 10 years now. And that is getting accurate information back to insurance carriers and built this amazing product. You got, these amazing reports now that these contractors have access to, which are 100% AI generated pretty much.
Yep.
Using the same tools that they already use. And, it produces a source of truth for them and it solves this niche of the industry's problem.
Yeah. The concept of estimating should always be unbiased.
100%.
You've put this very well where when you deliver an estimate, especially through AI, it should be agnostic to any impact forces from the outside world. This is what it takes to build the job. There's nothing else outside of that. There's nothing we need to lie about. There's nothing we need to embellish.
Mm-hmm.
This is the truth. And being able to deliver that truth in a consistent and fast way with all of the justification that's needed to show someone that these are the right numbers, that these are the right codes, that these are the right reports and photos. That is a huge leap that we were able to accomplish as a company. And when we broke through that and we got the responses from, our customers, it was just overwhelming. It's, I've been searching for this for 20 years. Or,
we all wanted this.
Yeah, I've been in this industry for 45 years and I've been waiting for this platform because I can't spend another minute talking to insurance companies trying to explain the same problem. So it's been incredible.
It checks all the boxes, but what's cool to me is you guys came into this space out of, left field, penetrated. And I mean, you took a good data set to start with. I mean, last year, 2024, it was like 4,000-ish claims that came through the system.
Yeah, over 4,000 claims.
And then, going into this year now, a lot of that stuff was, I remember when I joined last summer, I think we were like 60-70% AI at that point, accuracy rate. Now it's basically high 90s.
Yep.
And so, now it's where it's literally like, I don't even think it's very rare for a file to be touched by a human at this point in our system.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point, and the amazing thing with AI is the more you do with it, the better it becomes as a human.
Right.
But there's also almost an uncapped level of knowledge it can retain. You can just continue to add it and get better and better and better and better and better, which is, it's as good as your best estimator, but then you can continue to flow forward.
Right.
And that's what I really love about it is no matter what the industry, no matter what the notion, you just keep feeding the right training sets and you'll get the perfect estimate. You'll get the perfect product.
And the platform is amazing. Like I was just the whole everything about XBuild that's been built so far. I could take very little credit for any of that stuff. Your engineering team is incredible, but we have a great team that's built something that, in my mind, we've met with other technology companies in the space, and I get back channel feedback a lot of times, and they're like, "Dude, this is not normal. Like, this is not the way this should work. Like, this is fast and it works, and what they've built. How do they build it so quickly? It's definitely, I think, when people dig into it and kind of get under the hood of what we've built, it's kind of shocking, I think, to the industry that we have this level of technology now coming into our space.
And just how much of it is AI. I think people underestimate
Yeah.
You know, when you're building an AI company.
Oh, that was the number one thing I'd get. Like we put out an ad or something, and half the comments were like, "This isn't really AI."
Right. And you know, it's hard to combat that until people actually feel the product.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when someone can say, "Oh, I put in 10 estimates and I got 10 estimates back in an hour."
Yeah.
Then you know there's this feels different.
Well,
There's
not only that, but the amount of time, like I've been estimating jobs for years, and like the amount of time it takes to create a photo report and then an Xactimate and then pull building codes, create a building code report, pull weather data, and then turn all that into one report, that would take me hours to do. Yeah. On my best day. Even with the tools and with all the things out there that could potentially help me get it quicker, it still would take hours to pull that amount of data that accurately. I mean, if I'm going to go label 100 photos,
right,
that's going to take me a good 2 hours to go through every photo and determine what's on those photos and what I'm seeing, where the AI does it in like a minute.
Right, exactly. I mean,
it's crazy.
The image classifying itself is pretty wild. Like it being able to pick out all the different components of a roof. And, you know, I think our starting training set was, you know, a couple hundred photos. And now we're gotten into thousands and tens of thousands. And it's just continues to refine.
It's insane. And it's getting better. I think.
Getting better.
I know, I don't know if I could talk about that, but we've gotten down to where I've seen estimates coming back in like 40 minutes-ish. And then I know I talked to Jahan the other day, and he says something like they tested one that was like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And it can do it 1,000 times.
Yeah. And it's just going to get less, like more. How long will it be before it's instant?
I mean, we're closer than everyone thinks to it being instant. Being able to just be on your phone, fill out the information, and get the estimate back right away. And it'd be perfect.
I mean, I don't think people can even comprehend how cool this is, because like it blows my mind. And I've been doing this for a long time, and I've worked on thousands of estimates, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is revolutionary. And we're just talking one small niche of a niche industry. Like a sub, and now we're talking like complete industries that can use technology like this. This is like step one here for you guys.
It is. Yeah, you know, we want to become more transparent with kind of our roadmaps.
I mean, we're not even in Series A yet.
No, we're not. we're not there. Like, it's what you can accomplish with the tools that are available right now is amazing. Yeah. And then, you know, as we push through, as we, you know, continue to grow and continue to raise, like, the more industries we can get into and the more data we can pull from, then you'll start to see this global picture of why do we need 50,000 places for an estimate to be delivered from? You can funnel it into a single place and have it deliver you that agnostic estimate. I think the thing that we were talking about at lunch earlier today was there's so little written down about the industry.
Yeah.
Right? There's such a difficulty when it comes to finding.
It's all here.
It's tribal knowledge.
Yeah, 100%.
It's tribal knowledge. And I don't know
I guarantee if you lined 5 contractors up in the room and said, "Hey, rebuild this studio for us," 5 contractors would give us 5 different ways they would do it.
Right.
Because everything is up here, and it's all based on knowledge that is handed down, and you all have your little tricks. Like I know my dad does, I do, like my little things that I want to build because that's the right way to do it for me.
Yep.
And then the next guy's going to say, no, this is the right way to do it. And who actually is right? They probably both work.
Well, actually, it'll be AI eventually will give the best process.
Yeah, the most efficient way of doing it.
Like if you have 1,000 contractors line them up and you tell each one of those 1,000 estimators, tell me how you would estimate rebuilding the studio. You gave that into the training set, and then you asked the AI, how would you rebuild the studio? Yeah. I think people would be quite surprised as to what it was capable of putting out. Right. And they'd probably be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to hire that AI. It's replaced Tony. Tony missed this.
Poor Tony. Tony can go build cool stuff.
Tony can get back in the field. That's what
exactly. We need him. No, 100%. And this is a solution that has been probably long overdue. Yeah. Probably the most ignored space in the entire economy. Yeah. And now it's getting touched by technology that has never, ever come into our space.
Yeah. And the thing that I will say is, you know, as much as maybe we beat ourselves up about why wasn't this done earlier? Why couldn't it be sooner? I think the point where we are with AI, this type of solution just became unlocked.
Yeah.
With the soonest level of the models that have come out. Before that, I don't think this was possible because the amount of critical thinking that's needed to put all of the building codes to make judgment calls about this line item with this calculation versus this building code versus this on-site photo, being able to put that together in a way that is coherent and correct just became possible.
We tried to do it years ago. Just to generate a copy and paste of an existing estimate was virtually impossible for us to accomplish.
How far did you get?
So we had it basically, so we're going to talk Xactimate for a second. So we had the bot or whatever, and it ran, it would basically could fill out like the customer information.
Okay.
And that was as far as it can get.
Was it just using OCR at that time? Like Control F?
This is complete, and I don't know what it was using, but it was able to somehow extract data off of an estimate, existing loss, and I don't even know if it could do that, honestly. But I knew that it could. I knew you can watch the cursor move, and it would like do things.
That's pretty good.
And this was back in 2020, in 2019, and it was technology that was being built for adjusters at the time. And that's what we were trying to retrain it to build, just to do this, just to set up files for an adjuster to step in and start to work on it and eliminate just the time waste of having to set up a file.
What happens when you got an image-based data? Would it break?
Well, that's a great question. I couldn't tell you that.
Because that's a big thing that we had to solve. And that's what our
because it does it now,
solve.
right?
Yeah, it's able to. So, I mean, as you know,
an image-based PDF, meaning not a native PDF. It's like someone took a picture of a document and turned that into a PDF.
Yeah, or they send it through a scanner and it gets flattened, and you can't select the text.
Right.
So it's trying to use the training set and the data modeling that we have to understand or to basically predict what those words are and what those numbers are. Yeah. And we've been able to solve it because that was a huge limiting factor in the platform in the early days was...
Well, it's when most contractors are going to use like Company Cam or some scanning tool or something.
Exactly. Or the homeowner will give it to them in an email that they've, scanned through or what it might be. Yeah. And it's somewhat off 90 degrees and, you got black specks everywhere. But that's what they have to work on.
Yeah.
And so it would be...
It's very common.
Yeah, it would be wrong of us to not solve that problem when we know it persists, especially when you get to blueprints. Because you have blueprints that are scanned through and they're flattened and they're non-selectable, but the contractors are expected to build the job from it. So why aren't we?
Blueprints are funny. So my dad writes all the caps.
Okay.
Because he was trained on drafting. And so he writes like an architect writes.
How do those text messages go? Everyone's yelling?
No, not his text messages, but like if he handwrites, it's beautiful handwriting.
Yeah.
But it's all caps. It's all drafting handwriting. And it's like a learned thing. But I love it because on like current blueprint software, like the text that you type out is usually like handwritten text that matches that same style of text. And it's just a funny thing to me. It's a different way of looking at things, but that's how you're trained back then because everything was handwritten. They didn't have computers like they do today. But yeah, there's so much stuff like that though. Nuances of just the industry just doesn't let go of.
I know. There's a lot of legacy things that, as this evolution comes through, we'll start to see a lot of changes. And I don't want to say cleanup, but probably modernization.
Modernization is a good word, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be definitely forced, and it's going to be quite the task.
It's going to be quite the task, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because I don't think we've met a person who doesn't want it to happen.
I've met them.
Fair enough. But you can convince them.
I did convince them. It took me some time.
Yeah.
But I did do it. And I'm not going to get into that story, but I will say I've met those people, and they definitely, what was funny about that interaction was the business owners that saw it happen all said the same thing. They said, you guys need to get to work. We need what you guys are doing because that kind of stuff can't happen anymore.
Yeah. What do you, in your mind, your experience, what would you compare this jump in technology, the emergence of AI? What would you compare it to in the past? What would you...
Like with past technologies or just...
As big of a leap as we're seeing now.
In a construction basis? man, this is almost like going from pen and paper to computer.
Yeah.
Like that was a big leap for a lot of people. A lot of people still are on pen and paper because they just can't comprehend even using like a conventional CRM or like some sort of software to manage, even having a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
This is as big as that is, but bigger, because the big thing there is you still require a human though. Mm-hmm. So like you almost have to compare it to a situation where you go from having a human involved in the process to not having a human involved in the process. And I don't think that there's been very many technological changes like that in our space. Maybe in equipment, there's been some where there's been certain tasks that you do that now you don't have to, like, you can use tools to do it, but it's not even to that level. Like someone still has to turn the tool on and make it go do its thing, which even in our situation, it does. Someone still has to give us the data points.
Right.
But that's going to change too.
That is.
So it's going to become to where practically anyone will be able to get project specs on anything they want to have done. I mean, the AI think about it. The AI will essentially be able to design a project.
Eventually.
You could be like, hey, like, I want to build a building, and this is what I want this building to do. This is the style I want it to look in. This is what I want. And basically the AI will probably be able to design that building for you.
Yep. It
and
will
generate the blueprints, do all the things, tell you where the electrical's got to go, everything. You'd be like, oh, I need more outlets in this room. Cool. Boom. More outlets in the room. Like, or I want the front to look like this. Cool. Done. It's built. So like, that's where this is going. So like, if you think about it, a lot of those knowledge sets that we have currently that humans do, architects, all these different things, like, it's not going to be a thing.
No, it's,
and it'll do it to code. It'll make sure that everything's correct.
It'll become like vibe coding is a thing. It'll become vibe estimate. It'll be vibe construction. It'll be vibe architecture, vibe drafting.
It's crazy.
And you'll just be able to tell it, what do I want? Here's the parameters. Here's some photos. Here's the basics about my output. Give it to me.
And then tell you how much it's going to cost.
And tell you how much it's going to cost.
Yeah. And then you'd be like, oh, I can't spend that. I need you to build it within this budget, and it'll change it all up and rebuild it to fit that budget.
Yeah. No class 3 finish. We're going
whatever they want. Like, I mean, that's the only thing. Like, but I think it's cool. I think it's a whole different world. And whether I'm of the opinion that, you know what, progress is progress, and you can't stop it.
No,
like it's coming no matter what. It didn't matter if you guys did it or someone else did it. Someone was going to do it eventually.
Yeah, I think I feel I owe too much this industry to not put my best foot forward to do this. I think that's the way I would say it. I care too much about this industry to not take the opportunity to drive it forward. It's given me too much. I mean, as much as the problems and headaches and just sleepless nights that I've had trying to deliver a project, the fact that we can take this shot,
it's cool.
I think would be irresponsible not to.
Well, I'm excited to see where it goes. I think we got a lot of work to do.
Yep.
To get there, but step one is this part. This is it. And if contractors are listening, like, hey, I'd like to see an AI generated estimate, you can do that. It's x.build is the website. You can create a free account. There's no charge to be on the platform currently.
Yep.
I'll say currently.
Yeah.
I don't think there will be, but could happen. I mean, you never know. But right now, you can join. You can sign up, get a free report, try it out, see if it's something that's interesting to you guys. I think you'd like it. I think it'd be cool to at least explore the option. But at the end of the day, like, this is just the beginning of what is going to be a huge shift in our economy. It's already happening across other sectors. You look at all these ways that AI is transforming everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, people don't even send an email anymore without having AI draft it.
It's made my emails better.
It's made a lot of things better. And it's saved a lot of people a lot of time. Yeah. So the question is, where does it go from here? And construction is just part of it.
It is, yeah. It's got a long journey ahead of it. So
long journey, and this is the beginning of it. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for spending some time and just talking about this.
Anytime.
Well, studio's always open, so
perfect.
Yeah, so we'll definitely do more of this, and we'll keep you guys informed as to what's going on, what new things that are coming out. I know there's a lot of things that are on the roadmap that we probably shouldn't talk about today, but they're coming. And so as those things progress, we'll do our best to keep our listeners informed on that. And at the end of the day, like if you care about your business, you care about the future, you should be paying attention to this a lot.
Yeah. I mean, this is where the emergence of construction and AI is going to be kicked off, and you want to keep everyone informed with what's happening.
Yeah, I'm excited. So thanks, Sharuk, for being here. And we're excited. We'll see you guys out there. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll keep you guys informed on this stuff. So have a good day.